Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for being here for the Tarot Tips. We're at the point here, I think, in the Tarot Tips where we're going to do well by learning as we go. Pretty much, I don't want to say everything, but a lot of the questions that you might have about mechanics have been answered in the previous Tarot Tips. But please, if there's something that's still kind of, remaining, hanging in there as a question in your mind, please send it off to me. But in the meantime, I think it's going to be very useful for us to learn by doing. So I'm going to use a query from a subscriber in today's tarot tip. I think it's a really good question to the tarot because it shows us lots of different aspects of how to work with a question. So I want to thank the subscriber for sending in this question. Let me just preface this and really all the tips from this point forward by saying that my way of approaching cards isn't the right way, and my way of interpreting things is not the right way. It's the way that over time I've become comfortable with working with the tarot and working with clients. I present them as ways for you to observe, take what works for you, put it in your, I like to call it your bag of tools, and pull it out when it's useful. Find your own way to work with the tarot. So what I offer is a suggestion, and even though it might come off as very definitive and absolute, I do not intend it to be that way. So here's the original question, and I'm going to read it as it was posed by the querent, or by the subscriber. So the question is a path in pursuing tarot as a career right for me? And what do I need to know about my chances of success, my aptitude with the cards, and my stage of development? So as you can see, this is a question with a couple of different parts, and we're going to address the parts separately, but right away it gives me a chance to make a point about posing questions to the tarot. A lot of times I think it's, well, all times, I think it's real important to get clear about what the client wants to know. What is your question? But how we phrase it in our mind and how it comes out of our mouth might not be the same way that we address it to the cards. We have to be, as I've spoken in other tarot tips, we have to be very intentional and purposeful in our questions to the tarot. The cards or the system can only address the question as it's posed. So, other tips have talked about, well, if we're saying, can I expect love to come into my life in the summer? We have to be specific. Are we talking about this summer? Are we talking about the summer of 2045? Okay? So, there's a couple ways that we're going to take this original, okay, here's what I want to know question from the client, rephrase it a little bit, reframe it so that we can effectively then address the question to the cards. So the first thing that always is a red flag for me is when somebody uses the word right. Is tarot as a career right for me? So, this implies kind of a black and white view of things, which I like to take off the table. So we're going to rephrase that. The other thing that's in here that we're going to reframe is, what do I need to know about my chances of success? This is a phrase that we're going to turn around into, rather than what do the fates have in mind for me, but rather we're going to address the question in terms of what can help me be as successful as possible. Sort of assuming that there's going to be a level of success. What parts of myself or what things do I need to do in order to get that to happen? Let's see, my aptitude with the cards and my stage of development. I think this is something we can just get a weather vane on. We can get a temperature reading on this. We can say, okay, in general, what, as it stands right now, what is the general aptitude of this person and where are they in their stage of development? And that might be actually where we're going to start with our query. So the point here, before we go to the tarot table, is to say, when you have a question that isn't exactly succinct in your mind, just sort of blurt it out about what is it I really want to know. And then take that concept and reframe it, rephrase it, tighten it up a little bit, and get it to be specific so that when you go to your tarot deck, you know what you're asking. You're putting the power as much as you can on the situation in your hands rather than kind of what's it going to be, kind of an attitude. So I think we're going to probably look at this in terms of 3 different questions. What's the general aptitude and stage of development of this person? What do we need to know about what are the best ways to make this successful, and how much of a positive fit as a career path is the tarot for this person? Okay, so we'll start this query with the notion of what do we need to know in terms of how the tarot as a career path might evolve or be a positive fit for this particular person. So rather than saying is it right or wrong, we're going to say, you know, what's the level of compatibility? So also implied in this question in terms of career is that, you know, the person hopes to make money at it. So we're going to be kind of looking at not only personality traits and compatibility, but we're also going to see if and where we might see pentacles. So let's ask that part of the question first. Is pursuing tarot as a career path a compatible fit for me? What do I need to know about that? So I haven't yet looked at this query. Obviously, we're going to pick these 2, and I think we're going to pick that one. So those 3 right off the top, we're going to look at in terms of what do we need to know about this for this person? Well, look at that. That's a green light. 10 of Cups, Emperor, 9 of Pentacles. Well, you couldn't probably have bought better cards than those. So I would say that it's a very good fit. I like how you get essentially 3 different elements there. You get 10 of Cups, so the emotions are in a very positive place, the connection with others. The Emperor, I think of, well, it's ruled by Aries, so it's a fire card. It's also, to me, got a good dose of earth in there, too, because the Emperor rules the physical plane. So we do see that card come reversed. I'm going to leave it reversed. I think there's an important reason why it is reversed. So we get a fire element there, and then we get the Pentacles. And if, as you know, the precursor to pulling the card was we're going to be looking for Pentacle cards again. Could we have gotten a better Pentacle card for this person? Probably not. 9 of Pentacles, very solid financial footing there. A lot of potential, I would say, to make a decent living. I think that the warning there with the Emperor reversed is to not get too authoritarian about it. I think you've got to be more in the compatibility with others place, and don't put yourself in a position of I am a tarot expert. I guess I'm always a little suspicious when anybody calls themselves a tarot expert. It's like saying I'm an expert in Jell-O. You know, it's really hard to manage Jell-O. So very positive start here. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go on and on and on about how to interpret this, but in general, that's a very, I would say, auspicious combination for this person. I do think that the money situation is potentially very positive. I like that we start with 10 of Cups, that it helps this person to connect with others. This may be a very important aspect for this person. Maybe they, you know, whether they're conscious of it or not, maybe they really need and want connection with community and with other people in a real and significant and meaningful way. So the 10 of Cups would imply that that is potential for this person. Like I said, I do think that the Emperor is positive, but I also think it's important that it comes up reversed. It's like temper your maybe tendency to put yourself too much in a position, in a power position. I get work with rather than, you know, become master of the system or the process. Okay, the second part of the question was, as it was written, what do I need to know about my chances of success? So we're going to turn that around, and I think we will ask that part of the question last. Let's look at aptitude and stage of development. So with this, we will kind of get, as I said earlier, a weather report. We will kind of look at Okay, where is this person in their learning of the tarot, or their grasp, their own personal grasp of the system? Where might we see points of power? Where might we see places where it needs to be more fully developed? So let's see. Well, I'm thinking 2 or 3 or 4. I'm not quite sure yet. 1, 2, I guess this one and this one. So, stages of development: Star, 10 of Wands, Knight of Pentacles. There's another 9. Look at this beautiful combination. We'll get everybody in frame here. Okay, in general stage of development, let's see, air, earth, fire, and water. Again, getting 4 different elements. Stars associated with Aquarius. So the air could be expanded more. The learning could be expanded more. I would get more spiritual in my approach. And maybe that's part of the reason why the Emperor comes up reversed. It's like there are practical world applications and there is book learning, but there's also the metaphysical piece, the piece that goes beyond the physical plane. So in terms of the air element, you know, which is sort of random, but it nicely comes up here as 4 different elements. The air element, the learning element, needs to aspire more, needs to get out of the physical plane a little bit and into more the, I really, as you probably know, don't go big on hairy fairy tarot readings, but there is a spiritual aspect, there is a non-physical aspect. So I think that that aspect would help this person. 10 of Wands, the fire element. Don't push the river there. Don't, this isn't a battle of wills. This isn't a race. So to me, the fire element needs to take a back seat. The personal will, the sense of accomplishment needs to kind of get pulled back. At the same time, the earth element comes up there in the Knight of Pentacles and says, you know, this is an ongoing process. This is the learning of tarot, the developing of your skills. We're always learning new things. So the Knight of Pentacles does that in a slow and steady method, taking what you can bit by bit here and there. Anybody who's read tarot for any amount of time knows that you learn from every single client who comes to your table. So that Knight of Pentacles does take a slow and steady approach to the learning of the process. Again, remembering the question, what's my aptitude and stage of development? There would always be something new to learn and develop for the Knight of Pentacles. And then we see that other positive, really glowing 9. We're aware, if you've studied tarot, that the other 9s, the 9 of Wands and the Knight of Swords, are challenging. The Pentacles and the Cups are satisfying. So the heart connection here, the emotional, the water, to me that would say not only reinforcing the 10 of Cups in the previous part of the question, but that the learning, the approach that you have to, that you develop over time with tarot needs to feel personally satisfying for you. This is something that's unique to every individual. How I learn tarot, what methods work for me, what to me feels valuable about it. 9 of Cups is only going to address or pursue the avenues of the study of tarot, which is unending. For this person, go into the parts that feel enriching and satisfying for you personally. That will make you a better reader and be more personally satisfying for you, just as an individual. So chances for success. So we're not going to put it out to chance. We're going to say, what does this person need to do in order to be as successful as possible? So we've got 3 cards here, 4 cards too. I'm just going to pick 2 cards. I think we see a pretty good representation here of what this person brings to the table. So for, next steps, let's say, for this person to develop their practice professionally, let's say. So we're going to have this one and this one. And this one is calling out to be a guiding card, so we're going to put that one up there. All right, We're running out of a little space here. Okay. Next steps for this person. World card, Six of Swords. Okay. Yeah, trying to get everybody here in the frame. This is going to be our guiding card. You know, that feels a little enigmatic. The World card can be a conclusion as well as a beginning. It can be the goal as well as the finish, as well as the, let's see, it could be the goal as well as what you've already accomplished. So, you know, with internet and Skype and all these other ways that we have to connect, the World card to me really is the name of the game for tarot these days. That it's not about local so much anymore, that it is about the global scene. So I would be thinking globally. Internet, that does make me think of that. That to me says appeal to the very broad audience. The other thing that just intuitively it makes me think is that, especially with that Six of Swords, that this person needs to, it would be, yeah, I'll say needs to not bite off any new projects. It feels to me like they've already got a good foundation here and some things that maybe he needs to go back to the drawing board on. Things that, it's interesting that that Six of Swords reversed is kind of looping back to that World card. And so I think the visual there might be, it's telling me something about don't try to reinvent the wheel here. Go back to what you already know how to do and see how you can approach that differently. I don't want to really say do it better, but how can you approach that differently? So again, pretty auspicious there in terms of finding your place, finding a foundation, having a relatively successful career path with the tarot world with the Six of Swords. To me, that just feels like you don't have to turn yourself into something that you're not. Go back to what you already know how to do and see how you can revisit that with maybe greater confidence. And then I always like to pull a helper card at the end, King of Swords. Okay, speak your truth. Speak it from what you know. You know, that's a little bit tricky with this Emperor card because the danger here was being imperious with it, being too authoritative about it. So there is going to be a balance, I think, for this person about how do I not overdo the Emperor but still embrace my King of Swords. King of Swords, to me, clearly is about writing. It might be less about doing individual readings with people and be more about, you know, does this person have a blog in them? Do they have a book in them? Do they have a certain perspective on tarot that might be different and useful for people to hear? So the King of Swords is very much about know your own mind, speak your own truth, be clear and concise in how you communicate what you have to say, and see if that helps you find your place, not only within yourself, but in the tarot community and along your career path. So that turned out to be quite a long tarot tip. I hope people managed to stick through the whole thing. I didn't want to shortchange the question. I think it was important to think about how do we reframe this question to get it to be more empowering for the querent and to address real specifically the things that this person wanted to know. So please send along your questions. We can address them in future tarot tips. I do think that this is a great way to learn how to work with your cards, how to experience different methods of reading, how to interpret how cards come up together, how to take the book learning and the intuition and put it together and create something that might make some sense. So thanks for being here, and we will see you next time.